Well, good morning. Before I say anything else, I want to say that if you are sensitive to the subject matter, Piper, stop. You might be sensitive to curse words, um, the things I'm going to describe, the things I'm going to talk about, which is highly personal and probably affects a lot of people because let's face it, we all have body parts. If you're kind of offended to that kind of talk, please don't listen. Because I've got to get this off my chest. So, oh, I'm messing this up. I should have left it alone. As you can see, I don't have a fancy tablecloth. I mean, I do, but I find the background distracting and the cards don't stand out as well as on a plain background. I don't have a fancy camera or anything like that. I'm glad just to have a camera. But anyway, if you're going to be offended, please don't listen because I'm not here to offend you, but I am here to pinpoint some things that are really, I don't want to say controversial, but they can be really offensive, you know, really bad, and people might not like that. And like sex and that kind of things. A lot of people, they don't want to talk about sex. They don't want to hear about sex. And I'm not going into great details about that in particular, but there might be some other stuff. So I'm feeling kind of dark this morning, so I pulled out this deck so we can flip through as I discuss. So let me see if this light helps or if it makes glare. Ooh. Hold on a second. If I put this light on and turn it away, that does help. You could see the images better. So this deck didn't come with a book. Comes in this shitty ass. I like these tuck boxes when they're made out of good cardboard and stuff, but when they're flimsy like this, I hate them. I have to find something to put them in. It doesn't come with a great big guidebook. It comes with just the pamphlet kind of crappy thing. But this is one of the most disturbing decks I have. There are some that are more just generally spooky, but this particular deck involves people, and it's very, in my opinion, disturbing. So let's see. So, as the title indicates, I have been called a man-hater. Oh, these are the backs. Look at that. Isn't that disturbing? I have been accused of being a man-hater. And to tell you the truth, I don't know if I am or not. Oh, there's my cardinal that came to visit. Oh, it's so pretty. Okay, so I don't know at heart if I am or if I'm just angry and frustrated to a great degree. So I don't know. And if there are men in the audience, you're probably better off not listening to this. But I've had some experience, and I'm sure a lot of women have had very similar experiences and even worse. So I want you to know I'm not trying to portray myself as a victim. I am not trying to do that. But there were some things that happened. I just want to get them off my chest. So I have had a long-standing kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Apprehension about males, starting with my own father. He didn't set good groundwork for me. He was a very, what's the word I'm looking for? I use the term abusive, although some people would say, well, that's not abuse, but if you get your hair pulled and you get smacked around a little bit, not too bad, but you get smacked around a little bit. If you get belittled, I guess that's abuse. So I felt like my father never liked me, and I never really quite liked him. I'm not saying that we didn't love each other. I think in his own way he did, but he's not the kind of man that if I was upset, I would have went running to. Daddy, daddy, daddy. That shit did not go on in my house. And I don't mean to call it shit, but there you go. I barely did that with my mother. So, but anyway, that's really getting into going down some other rabbit hole. So he did not set good precedents for me. All the males that I knew that were relatives did not set a good example. So I disliked them also. So, okay, I did the thing. I dated guys, and I got married, and I got divorced. And this is when the real trouble started. Because, well, in a way it was when I was married, because when I was married to I married this man because I thought he was stable. He was more than stable. He lacked a soul. He was like a zero personality, zero interesting, zero, he was just like a shell. To me, he was like empty. And that's why we got divorced. So I didn't want that either. I wanted the stability, and I took his kind of lack of affection and I don't know, interest in life and that kind of thing as stability. I took it all as stability, but it's not, because it's easy to be stable when you don't have any feelings. You know what I mean? So anyway, so that's that. So I got divorced and I went to work. So there have been thank God Piper, no. I thank God I didn't have too many of these experiences, because I'm telling you, they left an indelible mark and memory in my brain. And to this day, I still remember them. And to you, they might even seem petty, but these experiences have shaped and developed my attitude about men and my beliefs about men. So the first real horrible thing that happened, as far as, let's say, well, I don't know how to explain it, because there are worse things that happen, but I'm talking about how men view women as generally. This is pretty bad. I worked in a hospital at the time, and back in the day, see, I'm 74. Back in the day, of women that worked in admitting, we weren't allowed to wear scrubs or anything like that. We had to get dressed up. And so when I went to work back in the day, I went glammed up. I wore really nice clothes, heels, makeup, hair done, everything. And I used to get exhausted just trying to plan my day around my clothes so I look like a professional. So I look nice. I look pretty good. And so when I got that job, I really, I got that job because I was trying to escape another man who was threatening to me, plain out threatening to me. So I transferred my job, I moved, and so he had no way to trace me. So I started this new job in an admitting department, and I was hoping to meet some nice young doctor there, you know. And it's interesting because it was a teaching hospital, so there were plenty of young interns there. And never got approached. And there were other women that I worked with that were even better looking than me and more attractive and younger, and they never got approached. So I don't know what the story was. But then one day, this doctor, this guy they were having like I don't know if it's a celebration, a conference, or whatever, on the men that were leaving their internship and going into doctors. They were having a thing, conference party, whatever, out about 2 hours away, and he asked me to go with him, and I said, okay. I said, but I'm telling you now, you're not getting any. So if you're thinking of asking me along just to get some, that ain't happening. So don't count on it because it's not going to happen. I told him that flat out. And he said, no, that's not why I'm asking you. I had nothing like that in mind, and I really want to ask you out. And I said, okay, so I believe this joker. And as soon as we got there, it turned into this great big party of drunken men and acting the fool. And it was just a fucking nightmare. And the whole time, all this man could talk about was himself. It just so happens that we were in an area where he grew up. He had to show me everything from his childhood on. This is where I went to school. This is where I was born. This is the house we lived on till we moved to this house. All boring crap. And sure enough, what he wanted was to get laid. I was so pissed. You have no idea. I told him if he ever came near me again, there would be big trouble. So that took care of that. And that left a lasting impression on me because I made myself clear from the beginning. Please don't think that I'm going to, have sex with you. Don't think I'm just going to be there to be your party girl, because it's not going to happen, because I'm not built that way. So that left a lasting impression on me. So then there was a medical man that actually I did get involved with for 3 years. I wanted to marry him, but that's a whole other story. I don't want to even go down that rabbit hole. So I left that job years later, and I was doing something else. And back in the day, let me tell you, at the level I was for an office worker, at the time, we had to look really nice and professional. And over the years, it seemed to me that people could go to work looking like a rag picker in an office as long as you were totally covered and clean. They didn't care. But back in the day, you had to look nice. You had to dress nice, and you had to be well groomed and all that kind of stuff. So I used to get totally dressed up, and I used to look really nice. And the worst part about it was that we didn't make that much, but we made just enough to invest in office work clothing. All your spending money went to that so that you could look decent on your job, and you had no money left over for anything else. Now, of course, food and insurance, but after that, you didn't have much play money. It wasn't there. Most of your income went to your wardrobe so you could keep your job. It's so ridiculous. Anyway, so here I was starting a new job, and I had a bad cold or allergies or something. And I had just started, so I couldn't call in sick. And man, I was miserable. I was absolutely miserable. The symptoms were all like a really, really bad cold. And you can imagine. So the person that was training me was taking me around, and we went into this one spot where there were several men there. And as I said, I was dressed up and well-groomed. I was looking good, except I had a cold. And I went in there, and I felt this run come down my nose. And I thought, oh, man, I got to blow my nose. So I blew my nose. After all, I was sick, right? Okay. So I got about a couple of weeks later, I was in that same area where I blew my nose. And this man came up to me and said, I thought you were actually beautiful when you walked in here, and then you blew your nose. So that left a permanent burn in my brain. So that's the first thing. Okay. That wasn't the first thing. Like I said, that was what, third? I don't know. So, so then what else? Am I missing something? Oh, so then I got a job at one of the major delivery companies. I don't want to mention the name, but I loved my job. We had to wear uniforms and everything. But I still wore makeup. I still did my hair. I still wanted to feel like a female, even though I was doing like manual labor and that kind of stuff, sort of. You know what I mean? Not manual labor, but I was delivering packages. Come on. And so I wanted to keep in touch with my femininity, so I always wore my makeup. I always looked nice. And one day, that was when I transferred from delivering packages. I transferred into the office, and I was in the office, and I was talking with one of the couriers, and there was another courier standing beside me who was male, and my lips just felt really dry, and I guess from the air conditioning and stuff, and I thought, I want to moisturize some of these lips. So I took my lipstick out and a mirror, and I was putting my lipstick on right there in the office. And normally I don't do that. I will go to the ladies' room or not do it at all. But my lips felt dry and uncomfortable, so I wanted to do that. So I was doing that. I was putting lipstick on, and I was like, I guess you would say primping. As long as I was putting lipstick on, I had to make sure I did it right, So I was like putzing around with the lipstick and stuff. And all of a sudden, the courier standing next to me reached up and gently took my arm and pushed it down. And not touching him, he just pushed my hand down as if to say, please stop doing that. Can you figure out why? So then nothing happened for the longest time like that. And then years after that, and I think, and when I look back on it, I've practically stopped dating at the age of 35, and I'm 74. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I just said, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm not going to go bar hopping. I'm not going to hang out with men. I'm not going to pick up a sport men like just to meet them. I'm not doing all that crap. So I was just me. And I haven't met, well, I've dated occasionally here and there, but nothing, I didn't dive into the dating pool, let's say. Oh, wait, I did. When I first moved from the West Coast to the East Coast, I did go, I did hang out at a pub for a while, and I met my fiance there. I was engaged to this man, but it didn't work out. But I liked him very much, but I wasn't in love with him, but I liked him. And that didn't work out, but that's gone. So it doesn't matter. Nothing major happened there. He just had some issues that I tried to deal with and failed. So anyway, then years later, I make contact. I don't want to say how because I'm already into this, 18 minutes? Come on. So years later, I make contact with an old friend. I used to hang out in the Bronx, and there were like apartment buildings, and it was densely populated area. So from making friends with these people, I got to know a ton of people my age, like 200 of us. So anyway, I made friends. I reconnected with one that was in the group because they were having reunions, and they were trying to get people from the old crowd. And I was gone for so many years, and they contacted me and said, "Oh, come to the reunion." So I did. And this man was interested in me from the group. And of course I knew him, and he was always a little on the weird side. But I assumed and hoped that he progressed and grown into an adult. Well, I guess in some ways he did, in some ways he didn't. And okay, so he's like 6 years older than me. Yeah, he's 6 years older than me. And he had said things to me that were like, well, first of all, the way he talks to women on a subject, he talks to them with authority, with condensation. And I think he does it to men too, but he loves to do it to women mostly. Um, and he's just got this air about, oh, yeah, one of the things he first said to me when after he saw me after so many years, he said to me, you know, you're just a little bit too thin. You need to gain some weight. You should listen to men about this. You're just a little bit too thin. And I thought, okay, that was another thing. So then he just said this to me. See, now we live in the same mobile home park. So I was out riding my bike last night, and I ran into him. And so we pulled over on he was in his truck. So we pulled over on the side to have this conversation. And I mentioned to him that I don't know, my age came up for some reason, and I told him I was 74. And he's 80, okay? This is an 80-year-old man saying this to me. And he said to me, you're 74? And I said, yeah. And he said, oh, I thought you were older. And I said, no, I'm 74. He said, oh, you look older. He said, well, I'm 80. And I was so shocked by the audacity for him to say that I didn't know what to say. And here's the thing. So if you pay attention to the stories I told you, they were about the audacity and the hubris of these men to view women as if we don't have the right to be ourselves and to do what we want with how we look, and that as if we owed them the experience of always looking our best. And that this is what I believe. Now, I don't believe this of all men, but I believe this of a lot. Many, many, many single men. When they meet a woman, the first thing that comes to their mind is the possibility of this woman being worthy of being fucked. That's what I believe. So now the guy, the doctor obviously was a total ass, and I made him stay away from me because I knew I could get him in big trouble if he didn't. I don't think I ever saw him again. I hated him. I just thought he was the biggest ass. And obviously he just saw, well, that's obvious. I don't have to explain it to you. But the guy that said, and then you sneezed, as if I'm not a human being, as if I owed it to him to become his sex symbol, right? It's like, I can't be me. I can't be sick. I can't sneeze. I can't have snot because I'm a woman and I owe it to this jerk to always be his sexual doll. I mean, I didn't even know this man, and he said that to me. And the other guy who pushed my hand away from putting makeup on, it was clear to me that we were in a crowded office, and he wanted me to know that I should stop because he was getting a hard-on by watching me primp. And actually, I kind of get those same feelings by watching a man shave and do manly things like that. I find it sexual because it's very intimate. I used to like to shave my boyfriend's face. I thought it was something very intimate and it made me feel closer to them, you know? And so when he did that, I knew what was happening. He was like saying to me, I'm not going to be able to hide my heart on, so you got to stop putting lipstick on. And it made me mad. I mean, you know what I did? I actually apologized to this man. I said, oh, I'm sorry. And he said, that's okay. And I look back on it and I say, what the fuck did I apologize for? If you don't like what I'm doing, turn around and walk away. I'm not responsible for your heart on. So that was that. And then my friend, who I still see, not as a friend anyway, for him to tell me that I was too thin, I wanted to say, who the fuck do you think you are? I feel good at this weight. And if you don't like the way I look at this weight, then look away. And then the other night, yet last night, for him to tell me that I looked older. Now here's the thing. I care, but I don't care at the same time. Okay, so all my life, even my father was really this way. You better always look good. You better always have makeup on. You better, both his daughters he treated this way. And see, my father, although we were poor, my father came from money. I'm talking big money. And he was raised that when it's time for breakfast, you come down dressed. You don't come down in your robe, in your pajamas. He didn't like that. He used to say, you go get dressed. Put your makeup on, do your hair, then you come down from breakfast. That's the way my father. And at one point, my own sister, who she is really, oh my God, she is really one of these people that she surrenders her whole being to her looks. Her whole being centers around her looks. Not that she's conceited, but she feels insecure if she's not looking her absolute best. I don't have those feelings. She does. So she always looks tip-top. So at one point, her husband and her were having problems. He became a cocaine addict, and he was away on rehab. She was really, really poor. And she had a son, and so she was on food stamps. She lived with her in-laws. She was on food stamps, but she got her nails done. Remember when fake nails first came in years and years ago? Maybe you don't. Maybe you're too young. But everybody and their mother were getting them fake nails. While she was on welfare, she made sure she got her nails done. And I remember looking at that and saying, oh my God, that is horrible. You're spending money on nails when you can't afford food and you're taking money from the government. I was really kind of pissed. And I hinted at that one time, and my father got mad at me. He says, don't you see, she still looks beautiful, even though like she's got no money. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that he's justifying this. But okay, so that's gone. So here's the thing with me. When I was younger, I was a very much tomboy. When I came into like being a young woman, then I really wanted to be womanly. I wanted to look pretty. I wanted to have my hair done. I wanted beautiful clothes. I still love beautiful clothes. One of my favorite shows is Say Yes to the Dress, the wedding dresses. I love wedding dresses. I think they are stunning, beautiful, and I just love them. And so anyway, I still love clothes, but I can't afford them now. And I was always the type to be able to live in both worlds, as a tomboy and as a girly girl. So when I first got married, I lived in New York with my family. I got married and we moved to California. I had a baby there. And I remember this to this very day. They gave me medication for the pain and all that. At the time, it wasn't a saddle block or anything like that. It was laughing gas, something I inhaled. I don't know what it was. But after I had that baby, there was I think there was a chemical change in my body that I couldn't eat. I just couldn't eat. I couldn't. That I was hungry after I had my baby, and I asked for food, and they brought in the tray, and I almost threw up. And At that point, I started losing weight, and I was never heavy to begin with. I was average weight. I lost a shit ton of weight. I was never diagnosed with anorexia, but I looked like one. Um, I I was what, 5'4", and I went down to 100 pounds, and I could not eat. I used to eat like a cupful of green vegetables a day, and that's all I ate. There was no bread, no eggs, and I might have eaten a piece of chocolate now and then, but I didn't eat. I couldn't eat. The food just disgusted me. And you know how they say that if you lose too much weight, it starts to eat your muscle? Well, that's very true, because growing up, I had a nice puffy butt, but after I lost all that weight, I lost my butt. It's like flat because and it's, yeah, part of it is getting old, but I lost it before I was old. And I think it ate up my muscle back there. So, but somehow I got over that. Don't ask me how, because I was never treated for it or anything like that, but I was that skinny for years and years and years and years. But I got over that, and I'm fine. So, and also, I have to tell you that my mother was a gorgeous, beautiful woman. I think she could compete with any famous actress in her day. Seriously. So I got some genes from her. On the other hand, I think my father was ugly, and and I think I got some genes from him, because it's true. When I was younger, a lot of people thought I got a lot of compliments on my looks and everything. But okay, so now here's the thing. Now my mother had high cheekbones, which I have. I have high cheekbones. And my face was always kind of shaped like my mother, because of the high cheekbones. Not only because of the high cheekbones, but also there's a bit of a lack of fat underneath them. So you know the new look, the shallow look that they have? My face is kind of like that naturally. And that's why I can't stand that look. I think it looks like death. And it looks terrible. I'd rather have a nice full face, but I don't. And my face is kind of like, my whole head is kind of like narrow. I don't know how to explain it. So, when this guy, and also, I have Italian on both sides of my family. You know what they say about the Mediterranean people and their hair? My hair is very fine. I have a shit ton of it, but it's very fine. It will blow away at the slightest breeze and get out of place at the slightest breeze. And it is naturally frizzy, just naturally that way. My hair, the texture, my hair, when my hair grows, it doesn't grow down. It grows out sideways. And you have to like plaster it down and use a flat iron and all the product on it to make it look straight. And it's just a raw pain in the ass. And so if I let my hair grow naturally, just let it go naturally too, it's very ugly. I think I have worse looking hair, and you know how black people don't like their hair. At least their hair is curly, evenly, generally speaking, and it has, even if you let it go naturally, it's still kind of like curls, you know? Like, no, my hair is frizz. And so anyway, as a teenager, I always had to cut my hair because I had so much hair and it was so frizzy, I couldn't get a brush through my hair. And it was so much work that I just couldn't do it, so I always cut it short. And but I found as I got older, it kind of straightened, and now my hair is basically straight, except for the ends, which go into really tight curls, which looks ridiculous. It's still frizzy though, and I live in Florida. So now I live in Florida, right? I'm 74 years old, and I haven't, like I said, I've pretty much, well, other than being, after I got engaged, that's when after my engagement went sour, I think that's when I pretty much really gave up dating. I'm not doing this no more. And so, not because I was mad, I just kind of felt like it was a waste of time. I wanted to spend time doing things I wanted to do. What's wrong with that? So, anyway, so when I moved to Florida with all this humidity, I'm telling you, if I do my hair straight, if I use a flat iron on it, and I go out and there's a slight breeze, my hair will get frizzy again. That's how bad it is. Just a breeze will make my hair frizzy. And it looks, I think my hair, in my own opinion, is probably worse than a black person's hair. Because I look like I stuck my hair in an electric socket. Really. So now I moved to Florida with all this humidity, right? What am I going to do with my hair? I can't cut it short. Otherwise, I'm gonna look like a chia pet if I do. So I let my hair grow, and I always pin it up, and I always pin it back. And there are like little strands that come down just so I don't look, whatever, bald or whatever. And so between my hair and my narrow face, I don't have a lot of wrinkles. But I haven't gained a lot of weight. I think I'm 10 pounds overweight for my age and my body type, and which is nothing. So my face and high cheekbones work for you when you're young. Believe me, they're great. But when you get older, and let me tell you something else. When I was younger, when I was 17, I looked like I was 13. I'm not kidding. When I was 18, 19, I still looked like I was 13. I remember when I was a teenager growing up, I used to say to my mother, when the hell am I going to start looking like an adult? And she said, don't worry about it. When you get older, you'll love it. And it was true. In my 40s and my 50s, I looked like I was in my like 35. But now that I'm 74, things have changed because, first of all, my hair is totally white, not white. It's white, gray, and silver, and dark brown. It has a mixture of those. And I have flyaway hair, which makes you look old, especially if your hair is white or gray. And instead of the high cheeks flattering me, it makes me look drawn. But I don't have a lot of wrinkles. I do have some, true, obviously. But I think it's my face look being drawn that makes me look older. But when my friend told me that the other night, and here's the thing, when I moved here to Florida, I live in a 55 plus mobile home park. I looked around at these people and I said, I am not getting up. I don't hang out with any of these people either. I am not getting up in the morning, putting on full face, doing my hair and doing all that kind of crap for this mobile home park. Let me tell you something. After a certain age, for me anyway, I wouldn't want a man, because there is nothing worse than a man that can't maintain their erection. As they get older, they just can't do it. And to me, it's repulsive and disgusting. So I don't want to attract any of these old farts in here. And so I'm here with no makeup on, my hair is pulled back, and yeah, so maybe I look older. But you know what? I feel free. I don't have to worry about what they think about me. I don't have to worry about them thinking, oh, geez, is she fuckable? Can I fuck her? Because not interested. Okay? So I feel free. But for him to feel that he has the right to say that to me, that's a different story. That's a completely different story. Because guess what? I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not here to fulfill your sexual fantasies. I'm not here to try and make you attracted to me either. I am not interested. So just shut your mouth. So all these men that do this shit, I'm sorry, it pisses me off. If that makes me a man-hater, then so be it. Because I don't like any of this crap. Why would a woman my age want to attract a man that has to take medication to keep it up. Not me. I don't want any part of that shit. And the audacity of men to think that a woman my age would want that. I mean, men just think so much of themselves. Like, it's like, why wouldn't you want me? I'm a man. I have a penis. Well, it's floppy and it don't work unless you take medication. And even that is like, don't tell me about it. I don't fucking want to know. I don't know. So does that make me a man-hater? I mean, when I first meet a man, the first thing I want to know is his personality. Is he a good guy? Is he fun? That's what I want to know. I am just floored that this old friend of mine felt like he had the nerve. And the expression on his face, it was like he was like outraged that I would look older than my age. You know what? It's a relief that I don't have to worry about second guessing myself anymore. Am I attractive to this man? Oh, I like this man. I hope this man thinks I'm good looking. I don't worry about that anymore. In that sense, it's a relief. Do I wish I was younger and married to a great guy? Oh, sure. I mean, who doesn't? But I'm not willing to go out with these yahoos to find one. And I don't think you can find one. And the nerve of this man, he's 80 years old. He's bald as a bat. He has no muscle left at all. And he was always chubby. So when he picks up his arm, there's a great big flap about 4 inches long. And he's worried about how I look. He's got no muscle tone left at all. And he's still overweight. But that skin just hangs on his arm like 4 or 5 inches. Well, let me see. It's about that big. That's about 5 inches. I'm not kidding. And he's got the nerve to think and be so offended that I look older. Give me a break. And I guess I'm mad because I couldn't come back fast enough with a comeback. I was just shocked that, because any decent man knows you don't say shit like that to women, no matter what. You just don't do it. It's just not what's the word? Kosher. So I don't know if I'm a man hater or not, but I don't like that shit. I don't appreciate it. And anyway, I got it off my chest. And thanks for watching. And I hope it wasn't too offensive. I don't think it was, but you never know. So anyway, I got to go because I've taken up too much of your time. Thanks for listening, and thanks for listening to my rant. If you have any comments, please post them. Even if they're negative, go ahead and post them. I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.